Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing? I was scrolling through the Reddit today. I came across this thread. Scotland just became the first country to make tampons free for all that need them. That's pretty cool. That kind of makes sense. I could see that being like a healthcare type thing, obviously. What unique progressive laws does your country have? Well, I live in America, so pretty much none. But I figured I'd browse through this comment section just because I'm curious. I kind of feel like being jealous of other countries today. See what you guys, what your countries are doing for you guys. So that sounds like fun to me. Let's do it. All right, so big one right off the bat. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's the top one. All public transport just became free today in, I guess that's Luxembourg. It says LU. Best day to find this post. This was 4 years ago, granted. I'm looking at the top post of all time, so apparently this is 4 years old, but that's pretty mind-blowing. 4 years ago, Luxembourg made all public transportation free. That's pretty wild. I know a lot of employment and stuff, a lot of employees inside Luxembourg commute there, so I could see how that would be majorly beneficial to a whole lot of people commuting to work there. Maybe you can take a train there and then all of the public transportation you can just use for free, unless you have to be a citizen of Luxembourg. Either way, that's pretty mind-blowing. They could do this here in Indiana too. I mean, they might as well, I feel like. There's basically no public transportation to begin with, so I feel it's just like a PR stunt. They might as well make it all free. This is really kind of making me feel jealous right now. Seeing all you guys, all you Europeans just like congratulating each other. This guy from England, lucky bastard, enjoy. Oh, yeah, he's all cheery because he's got free healthcare and he's like, oh, you get free public transportation? Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, we get free healthcare. Enjoy it, dude. I just feel completely left out. But okay, let's continue on. France was the first country in 2016 to make it illegal for supermarkets to throw away food. They have the obligation to donate unsold food to associations. So, like charities, homeless shelters. That is kind of genius. I'm trying to think of if there's even any downside to this. I can't imagine there's really any downside. That's just genius. I mean, I guess it costs. I'm trying to think, why do supermarkets throw away food that's near expiration? And I guess it costs a little bit less money to throw it away than it does to, transport it to a shelter. I mean, that's pretty absurd. Thinking about how much food is thrown away. So much that, over here in America, people dumpster dive behind grocery stores and stuff, homeless people, which is pretty sad. So this law makes total sense. I think we should adopt that one. That should just be, I think the whole world should adopt that law. That just makes sense, especially because it's not really costing anybody any money. You know what I mean? It's not often you have a law that would be so beneficial for the humanity and the citizens of your country, and it doesn't even add anything to the budget. So, yeah, that's a great law. Wales was the first part of the UK to introduce charges for single-use carrier bags. No idea what that means. And presumed consent for organ donation. That's pretty fascinating. Assumed consent. So if you die in like an accident, and you don't have anything on record on if you want to be an organ donor or not, they're just going to assume you are an organ donor. I mean, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I guess I can imagine some scenarios where the family would be like, no, he wouldn't have wanted that. I personally, of course, am an organ donor. Here in America, they just ask you while you're getting like your driver's license or your ID, do you want to be an organ donor? And I never really understood why you wouldn't. I guess there's some religious reasons why some people don't. But I mean, that's pretty cool considering how important organ donation is and life-saving it is and how much of a shortage there is of organs. Um, yeah, I don't see a problem with just making it so, hey, you can opt out, but if you don't opt out, we're just going to assume you're an organ donor. Now, I'm going to read into what this one means. Charges for single-use carrier bag. Oh, that must mean like a tax on plastic bags at the supermarket, maybe? Here, let me look into it. Okay, I just read this article here, and yes, it is dealing with plastic bag or any kind of disposable bag at like a grocery store. I guess it would also apply to any single-use bag. Like if you're ordering takeout food, I guess it would apply to that, which is kind of difficult for me to. So I guess they would give you containers that are disposable, and you would bring your own bag. That makes sense. But yeah, it basically seems like it's a tax that goes on bags. Okay, I think there would be uproar here in America if you did that. The people would be in the streets because the amount of bags people use at Walmart and stuff is definitely not good for the environment. But especially right now with how inflation and everything, I just feel like if they introduced that, it would be kind of funny to see the reaction here in America. People would probably be outraged. Then again, it's only 5 cents per bag, so it's not really. It's going to add like 10 cents to your. Well, it might add like 50 cents to your grocery trip. That it would be interesting to see America's reaction. It's illegal to handle salmon in suspicious circumstances. We Brits truly are progressive. There you go. Hey, that's an interesting one right there. That just means knowingly handle salmon that was acquired illegally. Okay, that's oddly specific, but okay, I guess I could get behind that. I want to stand up for the salmon. If they're being kidnapped and handled illegally, you shouldn't be handling them. Now, this is pretty unbelievable. Out of Portugal, decriminalization consumption. Now, consumption's an important word there. That we're not talking about selling, but decriminalized consumption of all types of drugs. If a cop sees you consuming, he can only forward your case to a psychologist that will try to help you overcome addiction. You can't go to jail for consuming drugs. And now, of course, this guy from Ireland says, what about drug dealers? That would be the follow-up. I assume drug dealing is a whole lot different than consuming the drugs. A lot of people view, the consumers, the drug addicts, as victims, not as the criminals, which is sensible. I think you're only allowed to carry very, very, very little amounts of most drugs, and the dealing of most is also prohibited. If you're a drug dealer and you see a cop, make sure to consume everything you carry immediately. Good advice. Out of Switzerland, assisted suicide, which is, what's the word for, oh my gosh, euthanasia. Even for foreigners. I don't know what the implications of that are. It's kind of weird thinking like, hey, you want to be euthanized? You're going to have to take a trip to Switzerland. That is probably, euthanasia has got to be the most interesting, confusing thing to think about. Who should be allowed? What if they're in a mental state where they're not thinking clearly? All these different things. Overall, I think you should be in charge of your own body, which I guess at its furthest fundamental limit is choosing whether you're alive or not. But I don't think like if you're a teenager, I wonder, obviously there's an age. They're not letting 15-year-olds do it. I wonder what the age is. That is such an interesting one. Very difficult thing to think about. But I do think under some circumstances, it should be your choice. If you're in constant pain. Yeah, that's a tough one. Very interesting. In the U.S., it's only for, yeah. Oh, you couldn't read that. All right, moving on. Just an interesting little thing about the plastic bags. This guy from Ireland says when they introduced a charge in 2002, it led to a 90% drop usage of plastic bags. You know what I'm curious about? I'm curious about how much plastic bags, like as far as disposable plastic around the world or within a society like America, how much are plastic bags contributing to all the thrown away plastic that's, inevitably polluting the planet? I'd like to know the specifics on that. That is interesting. It's got to be a lot because there's millions of plastic bags probably every single day. Yeah, for sure. Every single day, millions of plastic bags are used and disposed of here in America, in just America. So a 90% drop, that's pretty remarkable. 15 weeks paternity leave for dads. Wow, for dads. Remarkable. Here in America, you don't even get that for moms. I love to see it for the dads out there. I support that. Can the dads get a little bit more love? In Sweden, we get 480. That's over a year of parental leave that both parents share. Each parent need to use at least, you have to use at least 96 days. They won't let you not use 96 days. Wow, that out of everything I've read, I'm beyond jealous. Jealous it's not even the right word. It's just like, wow. I don't even know. I'm kind of mad. I'm so jealous, I'm a little bit mad. Even the dads get 480 days to spend with their newborns. And by the time it's over, they're almost a freaking toddler. Like, you get to spend the entire newborn stage with your baby as a mom and a dad. Now, who pays you during that? Is your employer paying you for a year and a half of no work? Or is the government subsidizing it? I'm sure the government is in some way subsidizing it. This is such a great way to incentivize people having kids, you know what I mean? It's a big problem, is people aren't having enough kids anymore. And kids are pretty important, They're pretty important, turns out. So, yeah, wow. That's amazing. I think I'll end it there. I'll come back to this thread another time. This is a really interesting subject. But I think I'm jealous enough. I'm jealous enough for today. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic weekend, guys. I'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Goodbye.